how and why all rich people are preparing for World War III. This is no longer a rhetorical question. We are literally living in a period that we can call soon World War. When people are going to study this part of the history, they will say that it has been a world war. And if you look around, every single country is one way or another is connected to this war in Iran. This is not just about the war in Iran, but it's also about the war in Ukraine. So two major hot conflicts are happening and countries are forced to take sides. And the interests of these nations are so conflicting that countries don't even know what to do. Because if you take the European countries, on one side, they want to win the war in Ukraine. But on the other side, they don't want to do anything with Iran since oil prices are rising and are tremendously hurting their economies. A lot of people don't realize that most of the European economies are at the brink of collapse. Because unlike the United States, yes, there are going to be rising oil prices and it's going to impact the wallet of every single American, especially the middle class and the poor. But if you look at the European nations, many of them don't even have that energy at all. So it means that even if they are going to have the money to buy that energy, they most likely won't be able to do that. So we're basically destroying the economy or the global economy that we have built since 1945. And that is primarily happening because the balance of power in the world has changed, not just economically, but also militarily. Like going back 30 years ago, G7 countries were the primary countries that ruled the world. They represented over 60 or 70% of the global GDP. They produced the world's best technologies, and they had all the power in the world. But looking around today, it's not just about Iran and Ukraine, but rather it is China that has a much larger economy than, for example, many European nations. In fact, the entire European Union economy is probably even smaller than Chinese economy. And that's just part of the story. Then you have India, Southeast Asia, and many other Asians. So if you're a rich person right now, you have to think about how you're going to invest. And investing during a peacetime is very different than investing during a wartime because the fundamental decisions you are going to make are going to be extremely difficult. The war is going to get really ugly as energy prices are going to rise, and we can see that they're already hitting a new record of $112. As there is going to be a huge shortage of energy, as I told you many times in previous videos, we are looking energy prices to cross $150, probably even $200. So what is the main difference in investing during peacetime and wartime? During peacetime, millionaires and rich people are asking themselves a very simple question. How am I going to maximize my returns? Everything is stable. Whoever can actually build a business that is going to maximize their returns, that's where I'm investing my money. And maximizing returns means that efficiency. That means that I have to look at the world and I have to find the cheapest possible way to produce this product so that I can get it to the market. Whoever can offer the cheapest possible price is going to win the market and is going to dominate the market. But that is not the case, for example, during war times. So during the peace times, I'm looking for businesses that can actually produce the best technologies. I'm looking for businesses that are going to take the best advantage out of it. And I'm looking to make a lot of money during a peace time, which is why I'm more likely to invest in risky businesses or in tech companies. During the last 30 years, a lot of people had invested in Nvidia, Apple, and such companies because there has been a lot of peace. And there was a possibility for anybody to make millions of dollars, probably even billions of dollars. Like one of the reasons that Warren Buffett became the richest person in the world through investing is because he was literally born at the right time. Like he started his investing career after World War II, when the United States had this global hegemony over the world. And it lasted up until recently when the global hegemony of the United States is about to be over. Because the United States' main problem right now is that imagine you're a country and you ruled the world for the last 80 years. And now you suddenly realize that your adversaries or your competitors now have enough power to overthrow you. So you're trying to keep this power with every single piece of resource that you have. And then you realize that you're no longer as powerful as you were in the past. Now, it doesn't mean that you became less powerful. It's not about the United States losing its military might, but rather it is other militaries who spent the last 50 years building up themselves. Now they can actually challenge the United States. However, when you're in a wartime economy, you're asking yourself a completely different question. How am I going to preserve my wealth? Imagine you're sitting on $100 million and there is chaos in the world. You don't know how the world is going to look like 3 years from now. Let me ask you a question. If oil prices will hit $200 3 months from now, how do you think economies across the globe are going to act? Imagine you have a country such as Japan that will not have any resources. They probably will have to get these resources by force somehow, right? Imagine European countries running out of main resource, which is oil and gas, and they might have that, or they might have to get that oil and LNG by force. So imagine for a second the scope of that war, how big that war could potentially get. And because there are so many questions and very little answers, the future instantly becomes unpredictable. And if you're sitting on $100 million, the main question you're asking is that, how do I get out of this war 3 years from now, for example, preserving my $100 million? If I'm going to keep it in a certain currency and that currency loses like 50% of its value, then I lost 50% of my wealth. If I keep this $100 million in a business that is going to be devastated as a result of this war, then I will lose my wealth. So I'm not going to make risky investments, but rather I will be looking for a way to preserve the value of my wealth. So the questions that investors are asking themselves during peace times and war times are completely different. So what are the businesses, for example, during wartime? Investors are looking for necessities such as waste management. Just because there is a world war going on, just because there are high gas prices, it doesn't mean that there is not going to be waste management in the United States or in the UK or in Germany or any other nation. So waste management business is a safe business. It's not going to make you a lot of money. You can't be expecting waste management stocks to rise by 1,000% like you would expect Palantir stock to rise. But in the case of waste management, it is offering a service that you need regardless of what happens. Or healthcare. Healthcare is something that you cannot possibly avoid. Whether there is a war or there is no war, you still need healthcare. In fact, if there is a war, you probably even need more healthcare. So this is a necessity. If you compare healthcare stocks to tech stocks, there is no comparison that tech stocks are clear winners. But during war times, you know that their sales are not going to plummet as much as, for example, tech stocks. Energy is also another example. So I want you to see the difference of how investors are viewing different investing options during different kind of periods. So assets that protect your wealth are very different from those that will grow your wealth. A very good comparison would be between gold and Apple. If you look at the price of Apple and the price of gold, over the last 30 years, Apple stock has grown by 127,000%, while gold prices have grown by over 1,000%. If I'm going to ask you, if you had the choice with a time machine to go back to 1996 and you have a choice to invest $100,000 in each of them, would you choose gold or will you choose Apple stock? Without a shred of a doubt, every single one of you are going to choose Apple stock. Why? Because that $100,000 would have turned today probably into millions of dollars, not just millions, into hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. So would you rather want to become a billionaire or just grow your wealth by 1,000%? Of course, you're going to choose to become a billionaire. But that primarily happened because the last 30 years has been a peacetime, like 1990s, early 2000s, even like 5 years ago, even though that there was a global pandemic, the world still was largely at peace, and the world accepted that the United States is the country that rules the world, and the US military is the military that controls global seas. But if we take the exact same scenario and now we compare them over the last 2 years where we're having global instability, what has happened over the last 2 years? There is a major war going on in Europe. The war with Iran started. And this war with Iran isn't just a war that started yesterday. Remember, last year there was a 12-day war. Then there is an entire instability in Middle East. So there are so many crises happening across the globe, and we're probably even just accelerating the same crisis that started earlier. And if you look at gold prices, they have doubled over the last 2 years. But Apple stock just grown by 50%. So do you see the difference that during wartime, Apple stock isn't growing as fast as gold prices, but during peace times, Apple stock is growing significantly faster than gold prices? Investors always look at every single investment from the perspective of risk and reward. Tech companies are risky, but they also offer a very high reward. But when there is a war, the risks are insanely high that nobody wants to take those kind of risks, which is why a lot of investors simply fly to safe assets. Tech companies are risky, but they also offer you a very high reward. So during peacetime, they're more likely to succeed, which means that there is less likely for them to fail, which is why you're more likely to invest in a tech company. But gold is a very safe asset. At the same time, it's a useless asset. Imagine we're living in a very peacetime period. The entire world is at peace. The United States, Russia, and Iran and China are great friends, like it has been, for example, 20 years ago, if you exclude Iran from this equation. Then it's a good time. Why would I buy gold when everything is great and business is growing? I would rather invest in tech stocks and make hundreds of millions of dollars than just, preserve my wealth in gold. Do you see why gold prices, for example, in early 2000s or 2010s have not been growing as fast as they're growing lately? That is the primary reason. So what can we expect, or what rich people are expecting from this wartime economy? First of all, there is going to be massive government spending. When there is a war, the main spender in the economy is going to be the government. Because if you want to win the war, then you have to buy a lot of military equipment. You have to raise a huge military. If there is going to be an invasion of Iran, a ground troops sent, and I think most likely that is going to happen, then the United States might actually need to increase the size of its military, which means that now the United States will be spending even more on the military. I assume that the next year's budget for the military is going to be much larger. It could probably be even as high as $1.5 trillion, as Donald Trump stated earlier. That much spending always leads to high inflation. Inflation basically means that the US dollars that you're holding in your bank account or in your pockets or in your wallet will simply start losing a lot of their value, because that demand will instantly decrease the value of your dollars. And if that is happening, then you don't want to be sitting on a lot of cash. You want to be sitting on a lot of investments that preserve the value of your wealth and not destroy it. That could be, for example, real estate. That could be gold or any other investment that preserve the wealth. Another major problem happens during the war is that there are going to be high energy prices, and there is going to be a war for energy. We can already see that the prices of energy has grown to 112%, and this is just after 1 month of the war. Now, stop for a moment and ask yourself, what will happen to the prices of energy 2 months from now? And you see, the world is being divided. Like before the war, or before 2020, or before 2022, I would say the entire energy market was one joint market. So there was an efficient business model. It meant that every single drop of oil could actually find its clients. And that allowed the global economy to reduce oil prices to their bare minimum because there is one market for everybody. Now there is still plenty of oil in the world. There is plenty of oil in Russia. There is plenty of oil in Middle East. There is plenty of oil in Iran. So because there is war, because there are so many restrictions, because there are sanctions, because countries are picking sides, that oil is not hitting the right customer, which is why oil prices are rising. So if the European countries right now are fighting for every single drop of oil that is available in the United States, which means that they are competing with the US consumers. It means that the US companies are now selling their oil both to the European consumers and to the United States consumers. And it means that they have to compete, which means that whoever is going to pay the higher price will get that oil. Probably in a few months from now, Japan will start competing for the US oil. And Japan is a huge economy and they need energy to run their factories. So maybe energy prices in the US will cross $170, maybe $200. I think the sky is the limit at this point. The US treasuries are losing the status of safe haven. So if you look at any major conflict over the last 70 to 80 years, the world knew one simple fact, that if there is a crisis in the world, let's say it is a war in Iraq, it's a war in Afghanistan, or any kind of crisis, we want to protect our wealth by buying the US treasuries, because the US treasuries have a track record of paying a yield that is higher than the inflation rate. So we are protected one way or another. So if I'm a millionaire, I will simply dump all of my money into the US treasuries, knowing for a fact that I will still earn a return that is higher than inflation. Yes, I will not be receiving thousands of percentage points like I would do during a peacetime, but at least I'm not just preserving my wealth, I'm still earning more than inflation. But the US national debt is crossing $40 trillion. The demand for the US treasuries are not that high, and there is a very high risk that the United States government will actually artificially keep interest rates low. So the main concern that rich people have today is that safe haven US treasuries might no longer be available in 5 to 10 years from now. Not 5 to 10 years from now, but rather it might not be a safe haven a year from now or 3 years from now. And if it's not a safe haven, then we have to look for other alternatives. And that alternative is most likely gold, at least for now. That's why you see so many big businesses, so many corporations, so many central banks across the globe just replacing the US treasuries with gold, because for now they don't see another safe haven. The S&P 500 most likely is going to suffer. In fact, it's already suffering. Over the last 30 to 40 years, we have actually built some of the largest companies in the world. And that was because the internet changed the way we live. Like, the life before internet was very different from life today. And these tech companies represent and reshaping our world. Most of you probably have smartphones, not probably, but certainly, and everybody uses the internet. So these companies dominated the global economy, which meant that the S&P 500 became entirely dependent on these tech companies. If these tech companies suffer, then the S&P 500 is going to go down. So if you're a multi-millionaire today investing so much money, you understand now that if you literally just dump all of your money into the S&P 500, you're not going to make money. In fact, you're most likely going to lose money because the S&P 500 is entirely dominated by tech companies. That leaves you with another option, a more riskier option, which means that either you're going to buy gold, and there is so much demand for gold that there isn't simply enough gold for everybody. And secondly, you have to buy solid businesses that might not be part of the S&P 500. Or they might be part of the S&P 500, but because their valuations aren't as high as Nvidia, Apple, or Meta, they do not represent a huge chunk of the S&P 500. But the only way you can find them is by understanding how to actually analyze these companies, how to analyze these stocks. But if you're not a millionaire and you don't have much wealth to preserve, then you have to look at this crisis from a completely different perspective. How do I use this crisis to make money? How do I emerge out of this crisis as a millionaire? So, because this war crushes some stocks and catapults other stocks, it means that after the war, when there is going to be a peacetime, a lot of these tech companies are going to thrive. So this war is basically an opportunity for you to invest in these stocks at a huge discount. But you have to be patient and you have to know at which of them you should be investing so that you do not overpay for any of these stocks. So if you want to know what are the top 5 stocks that you should be buying right now during this crisis and during this war so that you will end up as a millionaire after this war, then check out the Investing Academy. The link is in the description of this video.